Welcome to the Productivity and Planning Mastermind. This is module number 2, Functional Planning Processes. Module number 2 is broken out into 3 sections. Section number 1 is the functional planning process. Section number 2 is the weekly review. And section number 3 is planning productively. Section number 1, the functional planning process. What is functional planning? Functional planning is an approach to time and project management that organizes tasks, events, and activities for a more focused approach to executing work. Functional planning can be done in nearly any planning system that gives the user the ability to do the following 3 activities: schedule events, track tasks, and plan actions. Functional planning is a streamlined method for planning accurately, so execution becomes easier. The first activity that is critical in functional planning is to schedule events. There are 3 types of events you will schedule in your planning system: recurring events, appointments, and special days. Recurring events are activities that happen on a regular or consistent basis that you need to keep track of. For example, trash or recycling days, television shows, conference calls, or meetings. Anything that happens frequently and on a schedule that you know ahead of time or can predict based on past behavior. Appointments are activities that we schedule individually. They may happen often, but not on a predictable schedule, and usually have a defined start and end time. For example, doctor's visits, lunch dates, parties, concerts, or vacations. These are events where you will either schedule the time yourself or be aware of the schedule ahead of time. Special days are events that reoccur annually or have a significant meaning for your life and apply to an entire day. For example, birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. These are events that we keep track of as part of our own annual traditions. They may also have associated appointments or tasks that apply to the day. The next activity that is critical to functional planning is task tracking. There are 4 types of task lists that you will keep track of in your planning system: project plans, master monthly task list, weekly top 5, and the daily top 3. Project plans are task lists that relate to a group of associated actions one would take to accomplish a specific result. For example, a project plan to renovate a kitchen, a project plan to start a website, or a project plan to earn a driver's license. There are time-bound lists we keep along with reference information and notes to help us achieve an individual project. Master monthly task lists are a collection of tasks that need to be accomplished within a given month. For example, you would keep an individual list of tasks for each month of the year. These lists can be used to help manage forward planning and to keep focused against projects in a timely manner. These lists will contain tasks related to projects as well as individual personal or work-related tasks. Weekly top 5 lists are a collection of projects we want to focus on for an individual week. For example, at the start of your week, you will select up to 5 projects that will have your focus for that week. You don't necessarily need to complete all 5 projects on the list, but you are creating this list as an intention to focus time and effort towards completing tasks related to the projects. 5 is the magic number because most people work a 5-day week. So theoretically, you could choose to focus on 1 project per day during your work week, but that's not a requirement of the list. By choosing 5 projects from among the many you may be juggling, you are creating a sense of focus in your work. Choose the 5 projects based on priority, urgency, and interest. The daily top 3 list consists of 3 individual activities or tasks that must be accomplished on a given day. For example, each morning or the evening before, you will select the 3 most urgent or important tasks that you need to accomplish for that day. Ask yourself, if I only accomplished 3 things today, what would those have to be to make the best impact? By prioritizing 3 tasks and working to accomplish those first, you are establishing focus in your day against tasks that truly matter. When we fail to plan, we are planning to fail. Benjamin Franklin. The third and final activity that is critical in functional planning is to plan actions. Your plan of action on a given day contains the following items: the daily top 3 list, your schedule of events for the day, and additional tasks to accomplish. The daily plan of action. On a daily basis, you will want to plan out your day in terms of your schedule and tasks. First, start by reviewing your schedule to ensure you do not miss any recurring events, appointments, or special days. Next, create your top 3 list of tasks you want to have done before the end of the day. Finally, list out any additional tasks that you want to accomplish that day, but are not as crucial as your top 3. Be sure not to add too many tasks to this list, or you may become overwhelmed. Getting accurate with your expectations is a learned skill you will build up via trial and error, but I always suggest listing out less items than you think you can accomplish. If you finish early, you can always add more. Functional planning processes, examples to consider. Here is an example of a monthly spread that includes appointments, recurring events, and special days. Here is an example of a master monthly task list that has some important monthly to-do items listed out. Here is an example of weekly and daily planning. Here you can see that each day has a top 3 item listed out. We also have the top 5 weekly projects chosen at the start of the week, and a few examples of how you might list out your schedule inside of a weekly planner spread and extra to-do items as well. Here is an example of a project plan. Here you can see that the goal, description, and due date are all filled out. We have a list of resources that might be required for the project, and action steps are clearly listed out as well. Section number 2, the weekly review. What is the weekly review? The weekly review is a consistent planning practice that should be done before the start of a new week. It is a concept introduced by David Allen in his book, Getting Things Done. The weekly review concept is a great way to develop a consistent habit of planning so that you are clear on your tasks to achieve your goals. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. Why is the weekly review important? Planning needs to become a routine in your life if you want to accomplish your goals and work smarter, not harder. By spending some time developing planning routines, you will be creating focus in your work that will help you execute more efficiently. Choose a consistent day and time frame in which to perform your review, for example, Sunday evening or Monday morning. The weekly review process. A key part of the weekly review process is having confidence that your planner includes all relevant tasks, plans, and information. Performing a brain dump at the start of your weekly review helps to fill the gaps between plans on paper and info in your head. Take as much time as necessary to sit and write everything out that you are holding on to in your mind, and then organize that information as necessary in your planner. Plans, tasks, project ideas, meals, inspiration, etc. Write it all out on a separate paper or in a notebook so you don't clutter your planner. Not everything you write down during a brain dump needs to be acted on. Remember that. Some things it's just good to get out of your brain and onto paper to clear space. As you perform brain dumps more often, they will become quicker to accomplish. Don't be surprised if your first brain dump takes you an hour or more, but as you complete a brain dump at the start of your weekly review process, you'll find that less and less items are stored in your brain, and so it will make the process much quicker for you. The next key part of performing a weekly review is reconciling tasks. It's important to make sure you are checking off all completed tasks, not just in your weekly or daily planner pages, but also off your master monthly task list and project plans as well. What to do with incomplete tasks? Strike them out if they are no longer applicable. or migrate them to the new week if they still need to be done, or reschedule them for another more applicable time if the original time frame for completion has passed, but they still need to be completed. The next key part of your weekly review is balancing your schedule, which is essentially distributing tasks equitably across your days. Unless it's absolutely necessary, you don't want to schedule too many activities or tasks in a given day, lest you overwhelm your schedule, resulting in incomplete tasks. Learning how much you can schedule into one day successfully is mostly a process of trial and error, but I always believe that less is more. Start balancing your schedule by focusing on your daily top 3 and then adding just a few more additional tasks to your day. Try to become aware of how long tasks take you to complete and how much mental energy you use moving from task to task. Even when tasks are quick to complete, often doing many little things over a period of time can wear us out mentally because we're consistently shifting focus. No matter how well we plan, little tasks always end up getting pushed to the side. And another key part of the weekly review process is ensuring that those tasks aren't missed. On a weekly basis, it's great to plan a power hour, where you set aside 1 hour to knock out a bunch of little tasks. This will help ensure you are getting more done and staying on track with your planner. Now, despite its name, the weekly review process is not solely about planning out the week ahead. Before the start of major timeframes like quarters or months, there are a few other items that you should focus on during your weekly review process. On a quarterly basis, you should spend 30 to 60 minutes aligning your priorities, goals, and projects to ensure what you are working towards makes sense. Be sure to review your priorities for changes. Remember, our priorities can change from time to time. So on a quarterly basis, make sure your priorities are still in order. Be sure to consider whether your goals are still applicable. Again, on a quarterly basis, a wonderful habit to get into is to review your goals against your priorities to make sure everything still makes sense and that your goals are still things that you need to be working towards. And finally, be sure to check your projects to ensure they are relevant. Another wonderful thing to do on a quarterly basis is to check your projects, make sure they still apply as your goals do, and that they are still the easiest way for you to accomplish your goals. On a monthly basis, you should spend 30 to 60 minutes mapping out your month during your weekly review. Be sure to reconcile project plans, making sure that you've checked off completed items. Be sure to create your master monthly task list, of course, on a monthly basis before the month begins. You want to make sure that you have all those tasks that you want to accomplish in the month listed out on your master monthly task list. And of course, be sure to schedule events into the monthly view. So anything that you know is coming up, any reoccurring events, any appointments, any special days, take some time to review your schedule and make sure that you're filling your monthly view with all the scheduled events that you've got going on. On a weekly basis, you should spend 15 to 30 minutes planning out the week ahead during your weekly review. Be sure to reconcile project plans and master monthly tasks. Of course, as you get work done throughout the week, you want to make sure that you're not just checking off items from your weekly or daily spreads, but that you're also going to that master monthly task list and checking items off. And of course, going back to your project plans and making sure those tasks are reconciled as well. Be sure to create your weekly top 5 list. As we mentioned before, your weekly top 5 are 5 projects that you will focus on for the week. So make sure you sit and look at your project plans and see what items need to be completed, what 5 projects can hold your attention for that week. And be sure to schedule events and tasks into your weekly planner view. So heading back to your monthly view, look at any reoccurring items, any schedule events, appointments, or special days that have associated tasks that you need to complete, and make sure you are listing those into your daily or weekly pages so that you don't miss any activities that you have to take part in for a given week. The weekly review is a living process that you can tailor to your needs. Here are some other popular items to consider during your review. Meal planning is something that you could do on a weekly basis. Some people do it on a monthly or bi-weekly basis, but if you're someone who wants to integrate meal planning into your schedule, the weekly review is an excellent time to do that. Reviewing your workout schedule, checking to see when you would like to work out, any activities that you'd like to do specifically, any appointments you might have with a trainer, or any classes that you'd want to take. This is a great time for you to review your week workout schedule and make a plan for the week for how you're going to be fitting in your physical activity. Also consider self-care on a weekly basis. It's wonderful to be able to plan some time for self-care so that you're taking care of your number one priority, which is you. So as you're building your schedule for the week, make sure to think about self-care and how you could add it into certain days of the week, or if you could choose one day where you'll focus on self-care, that would be wonderful as well. And of course, routine home care and maintenance. Many of us have our weekly chores that we need to get done, and regular home maintenance, whether you own a home or rent an apartment or have a room in your parents' house, whatever the situation is. Taking some time at the start of your week to plan out when you are going to be keeping your space clean and organized and well maintained is a great thing to add to your weekly review. The man who is prepared has his battle half fought. Cervantes. Section number 3, planning productively. Why productive planning matters. When it comes to productivity, we often think about it in terms of executing on work already planned. But if you can also think about how to do your planning itself productively, it will help ensure you are fitting it all in. When we are productive about our planning, ensuring we understand how much we can actually accomplish versus all the things we wish we could accomplish, it helps us in preventing overwhelm. By establishing the routine of consistently using your planner, you will waste less time and mental energy wondering what to do next, and have more time and energy to execute. Done is better than perfect. Sheryl Sandberg. Fitting it all in. If you are struggling to fit in all the tasks and activities you'd like, it may not be the amount of hours in a day that's the issue, but instead your perception of what needs to be done. The 80-20 rule is a principle that applies to many areas of productivity. It states that 80% of your end results come from only 20% of your actions. Think about this in terms of building a project plan. This means you could eliminate a vast majority of what you think you need to do to complete a project, and by focusing on the essential tasks and actions, you can achieve your end result quicker. The next time you are building a project plan, ask yourself what tasks you have added to the plan are extras that you could eliminate or defer working on until the end of the project to ensure you complete the key 80% more swiftly. In many business environments, employee roles are broken out to specialize in certain tasks, meaning we do much of the same work over and over. We know that in terms of productivity, switching from task to task during the day creates a lag or waste of time and energy that could be minimized by establishing themed workdays. Themed workdays are a way of batching your work, either by complete days or by blocks of time. So you are focusing on one activity for a longer period of time. To theme your work days, track the work you do over a week and break it down into categories. Then you can assign categories of work to specific days of the week or create time blocks in your schedule to complete certain repetitive tasks so you are batching your work. How to prevent overwhelm. As we learn to fit in all our key activities and tasks into our schedule, if you find that you are frequently overwhelmed, you may need more white space in your day. White space is time we build into our schedules to do nothing. I know it may seem a little odd to plan to do nothing, but when we create this buffer time, we help reduce overwhelm a few ways. First, we are giving ourselves time for a break, which helps us mentally and physically to tackle the next set of tasks because we're recharged. Second, we are giving ourselves space in case other scheduled tasks and activities go longer than expected. How many times have you filled your day with tasks and activities and then early on in the day found that something took much longer than anticipated, and then you worked frantically for the rest of the day to catch up? If you had some white space in your schedule, it would have given you some buffer time to play with, preventing the need to work frantically. So if you are frequently overwhelmed by your work, try to leave some space open in your day, i.e., stop scheduling work for every minute of the day, just in case things run over or an unexpected interruption throws you off schedule. Where to start if you are overwhelmed? Now, what should you do if you are overwhelmed with your work right now? When we get overwhelmed, the anxiety of what we believe we need to accomplish oftentimes stuns us into inaction, and choosing the next thing to focus on can be difficult. If you are feeling this way, the best thing to do is to prioritize the tasks that you have with the time that you have. How to prioritize. I realize prioritization is easier said than done, but the more often you practice prioritization during your daily planning, like with your top 3, the easier it gets. Things to consider when prioritizing items. First is the source. Who has assigned the work to you, or who is the work being completed for? Also consider urgency. When does this work need to be done by? And finally, consider interest. Are you the best person to complete the work, or do you have an interest in seeing the work completed? When considering the source of specific work, you need to understand whether they are a priority to you. For example, if your boss asks you for a report versus a manager in another department that you don't report to. If the report is for a meeting with an important customer versus part of some routine prep for a team call. In which situations would you consider the task a priority, and which would you push back on? When considering the urgency of specific work, you need to understand the true due date of the work and how long the work will take to complete. For example, if your child asks you to make cupcakes for a school party on the morning of the event versus the day before. If a coworker needs market research done for a presentation they are working on later that day, but the presentation isn't actually due for another week. In which situations would you consider the task a priority, and which would you push back on? When considering your interest in specific work, you need to understand your responsibilities and abilities. For example, if your coworker asks you to add a new report to the existing ones you already run, versus asking you to create an illustration for a presentation because the graphic designer is out sick. If your manager asks you to drop off marketing materials to their home after work because they forgot them, but you have to pick up your child from school. In which situations would you consider the task a priority, and which would you push back on? Of course, even the best of us will find that when we prioritize as best we can, there are still priority conflicts among tasks and activities. How to deal with priority conflicts. If you are the source of the conflicting work, get realistic with your expectations of what you are trying to accomplish. You may need to delegate tasks to others if possible to manage your workflow. Be honest with others about what you will be able to do, and don't be afraid to say no if you have too much to do. Often people will find others to help if they know you aren't able to. Strategies for using your planner. As you are getting used to building your planning routine, you may need a little help reminding yourself to plan, and of course, to check your planner often throughout the day. One way you can do this is by using alarms or alerts, especially if you are using a paper planning system. Set alarms on your phone or computer to remind you to check your planner, and set a recurring event to do your weekly review. Nothing will work unless you do. John Wooden. Strategies for using your planner. Another strategy that often helps remind us to use our planner is leaving your planner out in a prominent place. If your planner is out open on your desk at work, you're more likely to take a peek inside. If you struggle to plan out your day in the morning, try leaving your planner out on the kitchen table or someplace you know you will see it as you go about your morning. One final strategy I often use to ensure I am planning consistently is to do my planning the night before for the next day. So instead of waiting for the morning to identify my top 3 and check my to-dos, I will plan out the next day as the last thing I do the previous day before I stop working. This means you wake up with your plan ready and you can just jump into your tasks. Planning productively. Some examples to consider. The 80-20 rule in action. Kimberly is planning a birthday party for her son, and she wants it to be as perfect as possible, but she only has a week to prepare. She made a project plan with the following tasks, but according to the 80-20 rule, not every item on her list is necessary to successfully execute the party planning. What items do you see as priorities, and which could you leave off the list? Book a room at a restaurant, make a cake, buy a dessert tray, make favors, order balloons, create invites, send invites, buy birthday gift, book a magician, create magician costume for son, buy table decorations, rent AV equipment, find a movie for the kids to watch, buy party games to play. With only a week to prepare for her son's party, Kimberly really is in a time crunch, so she really should evaluate what having a successful birthday party for her son would look like so that she can actually knock off some items, making the remaining items things that she could really focus on for a greater impact. Themed workdays. Tiffany is a sales coordinator for a large team. On a daily basis, her responsibilities include running reports for her team, managing customer contracts, coordinating payments and deliveries with vendors, and other general administrative tasks. She wants to theme some of her workdays so she is being more efficient. So here is the schedule she created. Monday, focus is reporting. Tuesday's focus is invoicing and bill pay. Wednesday's focus is contracts, and Thursday's general admin. So Fridays, she can catch up on any loose ends, do a power hour, and make sure she is ending her week strong. Using the information from this module with your planner system of choice, plan out the month ahead and the coming week. You have now completed module number 2. Return to the Productivity and Planning Mastermind Facebook group to await your next set of activities.